And hi, everyone. I'm Dave Shore. Thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Live at 5. As I always say, if you're joining me for the first time, it is 5 o'clock somewhere, right? We hit it first on the East Coast. Got a great show for you today. Everybody enjoyed me unwrapping a old edition of Topps baseball cards last week at the end of the show. Another 1990 set with the gum still in it. We'll do that a little bit later. I'll tell you about my ALS walk fundraiser. We'll tell you about that a little bit later as well. But right now, I want to bring aboard my guest because he has had a fascinating career so far. I know he's not done, but he has photographed some of the most amazing games, amazing sports, and amazing athletes of all time. I saw him for many, many years working so hard on the sidelines of the NBA that I want to welcome in Andrew Bernstein to Live at 5. Andy, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, Dave, it's great to be with you, man. It is 5 o'clock somewhere, although it's 2 o'clock where I am, buddy.
Hey, I used to live that life in that time zone as well. Andy also, like me, does a lot of content. I love your backdrop there. You have a podcast called Legends of Sport, and you've had over 125 episodes. You've had a heck of a list of guests. What have you enjoyed? What has stood out from being a host of a show?
Well, honestly, Dave, the thing I've enjoyed the most is the fact that I enjoy doing it. I didn't think I would take to being a host, somebody behind a microphone or behind the camera or in front of the camera. And that kind of started off with a show I did on the Laker Network, a TV show that you might have seen when you were in LA called Through the Lens, where I would sit with a Laker personality and talk about their career through my photos. And then that translated, sort of over to the audio kind of genre of doing interviews, and podcasting seemed to be the way to go. We were launching, my partners and I, a sports platform, content platform called Legends of Sport. And, very grateful to Norm Pattis and his Podcast One Network for taking us in and teaching me how to do a podcast. And now we're partnered with the LA Times. So we are distributed through their podcasting network, as well as Apple, Spotify, everywhere else, and on YouTube, because we're doing everything on video, just like you are now.
That is so great. It is fun indeed. I put the Twitter and the Instagram up that they can find at Legends of Sport if they want to look that up as well. I'm going to be downloading some more of those. I appreciate you joining me. This is not as formal, Andy. This is my idea of winding down here at the ALS Association North Carolina chapter office after a long week. I just miss catching up with some of my friends. And you were there so many years. I'll even show a photo a little bit later on that I took of you at work. But you've done so many great photos, so we'll talk about it. Andy, what got you started in this? What gave you the opportunity to have this incredible front row seat?
Well, it's interesting, Dave. I took up photography when I was 14. I grew up in New York, a Brooklyn kid. Ended up going to the University of Massachusetts. I learned how to do assignments working for the daily newspaper. Kind of knew in college, my freshman year, that I wanted to be a photojournalist. Wasn't quite sure that was going to lead me to specialize in sports. So I needed to make a decision in my junior year, and I transferred to a school that could really teach me the ins and outs of photography, plus help me learn the business, so to speak, learn how to run the business, how to be a successful entrepreneur, a businessman, run a studio, run, an office, whatever. So I ended up going to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and through a very close friend who was a great teacher there and is still a mentor of mine, he introduced me to some Sports Illustrated photographers who took me under their wing.
Wow.
And, I was schlepping equipment across golf courses and football fields and picking guys up at the airport and shipping film and doing everything that I needed to learn, to be on the job, so to speak, while I was still in school. But the most specialized thing I learned was how to light indoor arenas, such as the Forum or the LA Sports Arena, or Pauley Pavilion, to light those with these very huge strobe flash units, which Sports Illustrated was really the only entity that was doing it at the time, very specialized. And it produced incredible like almost daylight lit photography in these dingy old arenas that had bad lighting, and we were using film that wasn't able to really record, what we needed it to do, and lenses that weren't quite as fast as they are now, and what have you. And I don't know, the door was open a little bit through my assisting work at the Forum, and I was able to push it open a little further with a little Brooklyn moxie that I had. And next thing I knew, it was the '83 All-Star game, and the NBA hired me to shoot it. And that was the beginning of everything for me with the NBA. And then a year later, I became the Dodgers team photographer in '84. I was with them for 11 years. Helped to create NBA photos and became the first official NBA photographer in '86. And this is my 40th season. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. I looked at your bio. You've been the team photographer for 7 professional home teams that won championships. So, you have been there at the right place at the right time. It's an incredible moment. Now, I got to see a lot of times, because I would get there to do the pregame show very early. You were on a ladder.
Yep.
At each basket of each end, and now the stanchion there is just covered with things behind a basket of all that equipment that you put up.
Yeah. Well, it's tools of the trade. We put up a lot of these remote cameras that are stationary, that are mounted or clamped in really strategic areas of the arena. And one could be through the glass of the backboard, which you're talking about. One could be on like the basket stanchion. I actually invented one angle where I cut a hole in the bottom of the pad of the basket stanchion and stuck a camera in the hole on the floor. Up in the catwalk, that's a very unique and wonderful angle to get photos from. So in any given game, we have myself, my assistants, we set up 5, 6, sometimes 7 remote cameras. Those are all triggered by a radio control system. So it's very involved. It's a minimum 3-hour, 4-hour setup. Sometimes when we get to the NBA finals, we actually, take a full day before game 1 to set all this up. It has to come down and travel to the next city. So, people see the end result. They see the photos. They see Kobe, dunking, or Michael Jordan flying through the air, or, Shaq dunking on somebody from a low angle. Those didn't happen by accident, and they're not snapshots. These are very carefully prepared and technology that's been cultivated and worked on for years to make those photos happen.
No, it's unbelievable to watch it happen and to see the end product. If anyone's watching on LinkedIn Live right now, on Facebook, on YouTube, you can write a comment in there and I can put it up on the screen if you maybe have a question. In a couple of minutes, I want to ask you about a man that you saw so many times up close, the great Kobe Bryant, and a project that you worked on with him. But let me ask you one thing. In this world of having this, where everybody can either shoot a video or a photograph, has that technology hurt what you do? Or, what has it done? Well,
I think it's done amazing things for the craft and the art of photography. Being a photographer was kind of an exotic profession when I started. You thought about photographers, and there were wedding photographers, and you knew there were news photographers. I, quite frankly, when growing up and even my first few years in college, I didn't realize that, there were photographers who shot those beautiful car ads, or fashion spreads in Vanity Fair or whatever magazine. Of course, I was familiar with the great photojournalists and music photographers and people like that. But the iPhone, I'll tell you something, my daughter, who's now 13, I think she was not even 1.5. First of all, she knew how to take a photo on an iPhone. Then she knew how to scroll and delete at 1.5. She was like barely walking. And I think it's wonderful. I think what's the unfortunate thing that's happened is that the science of photography has kind of gone out the window with the new millennium, because nobody works in dark rooms anymore. Nobody's working with film. Nobody is seeing the magic of what happens when you develop a roll of film and then you put it in the enlarger and you make a print, and then you literally see magic before your eyes as the print comes up in the solution under the orange bulb, and that's unfortunate, because that is really to me was really part of the joy of being creative, was the process of getting it from my head through the camera onto the film, into the developing solution, onto the piece of paper, So some of those steps have gone by the wayside. We're now in the era of, instant gratification. You take a picture, you look at it, you delete it. When I took my most iconic photos before the digital era, I had to wait a day, maybe days, maybe weeks sometimes, to be able to see that actually what I shot. Something, maybe it was published or it wasn't published. Sometimes I had to ship the film directly from a game at the Forum or on the road to New York to a lab. I would never even see what I shot. I mean, that's so foreign to people right now because of the fact that, you have this phone in your hand that you can see exactly what you did.
I think that's amazing. We've got a few questions. Let me ask you, though, about Kobe Bryant. All right. Yes. I'm gonna put up a little montage here of some of the ones that I took behind the scenes. Now, I didn't take myself with the post game, but as we just look at a few things, what stands out about all the things that you shot around this gentleman and what he did during his career?
Well, Dave, I got to tell you, I mean, it's a photographer's dream to have a subject in front of your lens for 20 years, day in, day out, and to be able to establish a relationship, really from day one. I mean, he was 18 years old when I met him on Media Day, 96, and record every step of the way, every championship, gold medal wins, MVP. He went from being a teenager to a husband and a father and a veteran and a leader, Olympic champion, icon. And I was so fortunate to be able to document that. He's wonderful to work with, incredibly intense, but to get to the level that he got to, of course, you had to be. And we bonded over the fact that, and he told me this much, much later when we were doing our book together, 20 years after our relationship started. He looked at me, he said, "Man, you're as obsessed with what you do as what I did." And I said, yeah, you're right. He goes, "That's why I've liked you for so long."
Yeah, no.
We had this thing where we just bonded over that. Yeah.
And it was a best-selling book that's out there. It's called The Mamba Mentality, How I Play. It's a very unique look. What part did he have of what ended up? What did he have exclusive decision-making on what would represent him?
He was a true collaborator in every sense of the word. Every single word in that book, Dave, was uttered by him. It was written down by a great editorial director that we had. The book would never have gotten done without the guidance of this editorial director who helped shape the book, do the outline, sat with Kobe for hours upon hours, recorded all this stuff. And Kobe had a definite goal in mind. It was to, at the end result, be that you were going to learn something about him from him. You weren't going to learn it from somebody else or as told to. It was going to be directly from the mouth of the Mamba. And it was fascinating to me because he was so precise, and he knew exactly what he wanted to say when he wanted to get across. He's very self-deprecating in some ways throughout the book. He talks about things that he did wrong that he learned from, and he learned some of them from looking at my photos, quite frankly. So that was interesting to me that he would break down my photos like a science experiment, and dissect them and see what he's doing wrong, how his body language or way he's guarding somebody or whatever. Most notably Michael Jordan. And if people see the book, they'll see that photo of him guarding Jordan. And Kobe says in his own book, everything I'm doing in this photo is wrong. I mean, who does that, But he wanted to teach. He wanted to show that, look, even I can learn something from myself that I can teach you. So it was a beautiful collaboration. It was,
Yeah, it's amazing.
like any book, it's got its moments of, man, I don't know if we're ever going to get this done, but the publisher kept us on a pretty strict timeline, and it was released exactly when they wanted it released, and he embraced it. And I'm forever thankful to him for allowing me, first of all, into his life, into his inner sanctum,
Yeah.
but also for giving me the opportunity to collaborate with him on that.
I still, from a personal sense, can't believe he's gone, Andy.
Yeah.
You and I, we've been around a lot of athletes and coaches, and you do get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something unique about this that was very hard in those days following to just even believe it. How was it for you?
Oh, it continues to be. Sometimes I don't even, I can't even process that he's gone.
Yeah.
He and Gigi. I mean, and everyone else. I mean, the tragedy is beyond words. It's beyond any. You can't process it really. You can't really just say, well, this happened because, I mean, it should never have happened, first of all. No. And I miss him terribly. I feel like it's my mission, quite frankly, to carry on his legacy through my photography of him, through our book, through projects that I'll be working on with Vanessa and the family.
Good.
That's something I've taken, very, very seriously. And also, I got to be honest with you, Dave. Hundreds and hundreds of murals have gone up to celebrate Kobe's life and Gigi's life all over the world. Many of them in Southern California. I have a good friend, Mike Asner, who tracks them on his KobeMural.com. Wow. Yeah, and I want to plug
KobeMural.com?
Okay. KobeMural.com on, that's the URL, but on Instagram, it's Kobe Mural, @KobeMural. And you can literally go to a map anywhere in the world, and there's a pin on where the murals are located, and all the information comes up. And anyway, I've met some of the muralists. Obviously, they're using some of my photos. Some of them are, to do these incredible murals, and they're all different, and they're all inspiring. And I had to have a mural outside my office. I mean, literally, that over there, I can see it from where I'm sitting, is a mural of Kobe that I can see every day when I come to work, and I can say hi to him, and he's with me, in spirit, but he's right there. And it's the last photo that I shot of him as a Laker, walking off the court for the last time after that epic game where he scored 60 points, Mamba out. He was waving to the crowd, and it's the last frame I took before he went into the back and took his uniform off. And it's a picture that has never been painted. No one ever painted this photo. It's been published. And I had an incredible muralist, Jonas Never, paint it, and it will be here for as long as we're here.
No, we've got so many memories, but taken way too quickly. And Andy, you would know, he would listen. He obsessed on listening to sports talk. And a lot of athletes would never admit that they were listening. But he would always say something about my hosts there on 710. Yeah. Or he would get the number because he called into Max and Marcellus one time years ago. Yeah. And I had to tell the control room, we're not taking a commercial. And so it went 56 minutes commercial free because Kobe could not stop talking. But if you ever got him to call in, we were not going to go to a commercial.
Oh, you're right, Dave. I remember it was the Forum days, and maybe a second or third year before the team moved. And I was driving home, and it was well after the game. I mean, it takes me a long time to break down my stuff, and I'm driving home, and he had called in after the game. He was calling in to the post-game show. It's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it is amazing. Let me get to a couple questions here. Beth wants to know, have you ever said, wow, that was not a good camera shot we set?
Not sure what that means.
So I probably in theory, in pregame, you thought this is going to be a perfect setup or angle, and then it didn't turn out to be. I think that's probably why you have so many, right?
Well, that's a great question. Now that I understand it, we have our formula of cameras that we set up. There's like 5 different locations. Every game, we do it religiously, whatever arena we're in. It varies a little bit, but because arena configurations, the railings are in different places, the overhead might have, obstructions or whatever. But usually when I get to playoffs and finals, I will experiment with an angle that may work and may not work. Sometimes I'll put a camera in the catwalk that's behind the basket, because I saw a photographer, in Sports Illustrated once get this ridiculous shot, of Kareem sky hooking from an angle that I'd never seen before. I remember it. And, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll get one shot. Maybe I won't get anything, but it's worth it. And, it's part of being a creative person. You want to mix it up a little bit. And sometimes it works. And when it works, it's incredibly gratifying.
No, I can understand, because I know we'd always get excited to be on courtside for our broadcast location until the opposing coach or the home coach, that is where they happen to stand every time they would yell at somebody. So, I'd have like Popovich sitting like right in front of me, and so suddenly my great seat was no longer a great seat. Here's one from Joe. What's the craziest thing that has happened to you in all these years?
Well, Joe, I got to tell you, you haven't lived until a 340-pound Shaquille O'Neal has fallen on you when you're absolutely helpless on the baseline. That was the craziest, the scariest. He flattened me 3 times in his career, and I lived to tell about it. The third time, I thought literally I was dead. I thought like that was the end. I see him coming, this gigantic, yellow blob, in Laker uniform, and he just laid me out. Somehow I survived and lived to tell about it.
Oh, Andy Bernstein is joining me. Here's another one from Alicia. Do you have any good photobomb shots where you see an image in the background of a picture that made you laugh or cry?
Oh, that is really great. A great example of photobombs is when well, I got to tell this story because my dad, my dear dad, dearly departed, may he rest in peace, Dad, who got me into photography, got me into sports. I repaid him by taking him to Super Bowls and NBA finals. And I also took him to the Dream Team trip that I made with the team in '92 to Monaco and then to Barcelona. And my dad loved being around the guys, and he was very gregarious and he just fit in perfectly. It was a small group of us, the players, the staff. Anyway, my dad had this habit of, I don't know if he did it consciously, but he always was in the background of like some of the more important pictures that I would take. I'd be taking these behind the scenes photos of Magic or Bird or, Michael Jordan or Coach Daly. And there's my dad in the background, so he's like the original photo bomber, to the point where, and I'm dating myself. You'll probably remember this movie, Dave, but there was a movie that Woody Allen did called Zelig. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Where his character Zelig somehow like mysteriously appeared in all these historic photos, like going back to like sitting next to Abraham Lincoln, and and my dad's nickname, one of the coaches, I think it was PJ Carlissimo, referred to him as Zelig because he was in like every picture. That's a story. That's a photo Bob story I think I had to share.
Here's another one that I had. Did you wish you would have had more photos taken of you with somebody, because you were always on the other side? I had a lot of photos that I saw that you were there taking them. Yeah. Did anyone take good ones of you?
Well, it's funny. These many years in, I have found enough.
Okay, good.
I wish there were a few more like Dream Team era photos. Yeah. There really aren't. But there's enough. I mean, my good friend Nat Butler, my cohort for NBA photos on the East Coast, he and I joke about it because we're continually going through old film and finding pictures of each other, and sometimes there'll be a picture of the two of us that somebody else will send us. I don't have any regrets on that. Honestly, I have enough to kind of, keep the photo album full.
Yeah. And Beth said your dad is hearing you enjoy his photo bomb. So that's great. Beth, thanks as always for listening. Andy, you followed, you probably had mentors as well. If a great photographer was going to take the portrait of you, who would you pick?
Oh, you know what? I would probably pick Platon. He's, iconic in the world of portraiture. If anyone hasn't followed his Platon, amazing photographer. I don't know him personally. I went to one of his talks, which was mesmerizing. He shot literally every political figure, most sports figures, mostly in black and white. Did the very famous Bill Clinton photo that was on the cover of Time magazine. Okay. Gaddafi, all of these people. Tells a great story about going to the UN and getting an assignment. I forgot from whom, but some magazine, I think probably Time magazine, to shoot every world leader at the General Assembly, of which there was like 150 or something. And he would get 8 seconds with a guy. I mean, seriously, like,
oh my.
But the stories were monumental about the entourages and the people, that would accompany somebody like Gaddafi or Arafat or Putin, or, you just think of all of the personalities, Castro.
Unbelievable.
And the photos just blow your mind. They're very simply done and very simply lit, but he has a style I would love to see what he could do with this mug.
You know what? I would love to see it as well. There's your Instagram and Twitter. If anybody wants to follow you for the photo part, we put up the podcast earlier. I'm not going to keep you, Andy. You've done a great job. You've made my week. After a week in the office, this is what is fun, and this is what I enjoy. You keep putting out content the way you are as well. Keep on doing. Don't stop. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Dave. So great to reconnect with you, man, and everything you're doing for ALS. God bless you, man. If there's anything I can do, there's a fundraiser, and I can send you, signed photos, prints, or a signed Mamba book or whatever. I'm happy to do that.
No, I'll definitely be hitting you up. We have an auction site that we'll be talking about next week. So
great.
Thanks so much, Andy. Best of luck to you, and I'll see you soon. Okay.
All right, and thanks to everybody for the great questions.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much. Andy Bernstein joining me here as our guest on Live at 5. Wow, that was great. I always am trying to be very cognizant of people's times. You'll be able to watch this in replay if you go to my YouTube channel, just search Shore Sports Media, and please subscribe. I'm trying to get that up there. All right, so that was just a great show. So many memories. All right. So I did this last week. All right. We're going to see if we have anything good in the 1990 Topps Baseball unopened package of the week. All right. I'll bring 1986 next week. All right. So here's the favorite part. There's the gum that has been in there since 1990. Breaks nicely. Break your teeth as well. Let's see if we hit gold on anybody. All right. All right, we got a Jose Canseco. It wasn't a rookie card. We got Larry Walker. Everybody remembers Larry Walker. Got John Farrell, who was a color analyst for us on ESPN National Broadcast a few years ago. I got a chance to work with. Here's the great Dave Winfield. Now, this is a lot better than last week's. Last week, I would hold it up, and then I'd be like, no, that's not very good. All right, let's see. Here is the Glossy All-Stars and Hot Prospects baseball cards. You can send some money in and order it. I wonder if they'll still take it from 1990. No, not so good, Gerald Perry. Not so good, Marty Barrett. I remember Tom Herr as a Cardinal, not as a Philly. Okay. Ernie Witt and Luis Quijones and Jeff Ballard. So not too bad. I like it for the actual just fun and opening it. I told you guys last week, I could leave the package over there, the box unopened, but why? I mean, this is the fun we have in doing this. Let me check. Let's see. Beth. So that's the year you graduated from Penn State. So that's why I open up the that year then. Thank you to all of you for watching this. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you. Last week I opened up my walk fundraising team. We've got the Walk to Defeat ALS across all of North Carolina. And we're going to open up our auction site, and I'll put a link up on Monday morning, and I'll be coming on live Monday at noon to show you some of the incredible things. And thanks to Andy saying that, I think I'll try to track down one more item. But I'm putting up a QR code. If you happen to be watching this on your desktop or your laptop, just put your phone right up there to that QR code, open up your camera on it, and it'll open up. And that'll open it up to my walk donation page and everything that we're doing here for ALS in the state of North Carolina. Beth knows that. She is a part of what we do as well. And so if you get a chance, hit that. I don't know. I don't have a confirmed guest for next week. I've been trying to work on getting somebody from the world of music because I need to do that. But we've just had some incredible sports people. And so we'll continue to have that. We'll have news people. We'll have entertainers as well. So, and we'll have people from various walks of life. We talked business a couple of weeks ago, and we'll have some others as well. But I think that's going to about do it. It's been a busy week. It's hot and humid here in North Carolina. I hope it's good wherever you are. Just some incredible stories Andy had. I usually go back on Saturday morning and watch it again because I'm trying here to run it and put the banners up at the right time. And I just realized we have some incredible stories here. These are gifted people that I used to see all the time as I was ending what I wasn't sure if it would be the last times that I would be working NBA games all the time. I went around before the game there at the Staples Center and just took photos of everybody that I would see in action. The network TV guys getting ready, their monitors and everything that they see from their side. Andy knows this. It's just a sea of activity going on. We used to have one of the favorite things when we were an opponent coming to the Staples Center was we would always have a plastic container of chocolate brownies. And they were homemade from Diane Cannon. And that was her little thing as a front row ticket holder for the Lakers. She would make us a little plastic container of chocolate brownies. And we'd end up passing it down to the scores table guys, who work so they probably had those chocolate brownies memorized by that time. So there's just fun little things that you notice, but guys like Andy, I mean, they're working to get incredible shots. And I know how hard that is. Any of you that are watching, and we work together in television, one of the things that I was actually blessed to do was I had to learn how to shoot my own video as well. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Andy about that, but I'll tell you what, there were some sports that if you could shoot sports, I'm telling you what, you were good at anything. Not taking any credit away from news photographers or whatever, but man, if you could do sports, there was nothing harder than having a video camera. And remember, these are not the little teeny ones. These are not this. These were the big ones that we had on our shoulder. There was nothing harder than being behind the green. A guy on the par 3 is up on the tee, and he's hitting, and you've got the eye here in the camera lens, but then this eye's open so that you can actually pick up where the white ball is and hopefully get it as it lands on the green. And I mean, I tried that time and time again so I could finally get that down pat. Let me put up this one. Dr. Peter Teitelbaum. Happy to see your face too. Peter, good to see you watching on LinkedIn. You, my friend, will be one of my future guests coming up too, because he's done some fascinating things in his career. So that's going to do it. Thanks again for watching. Love to have you a part. I'll tell you a little bit more about my ALS walk campaign, my story. I'll do that a little bit more next week when I can show you a little bit more about the auction items, because a little known secret is that you can bid on the auction items wherever you live in the country. So I will tell you that there is a watch and whiskey package, which I have acquired. It's whiskey from Ragged Branch Distillery outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, one of my favorite places. And also, it is a compass watch from La Touraine, my good friends now outside of in Charlotte. And so they were part of that package. We have a couple of other incredible golf packages. So anybody can bid on those. You don't have to live in North Carolina. Of course, anybody can donate to what we're doing across the state for all the ALS patients, their families, and caregivers, and the doctors in the clinics here that are working so hard all across the country for this horrible disease as well. Rick, thank you so much. Hey, Dave. Rick, my friend, Rick and I are looking forward to the start of football season so we can get that long-standing fantasy football league going again and have that draft. All right, folks, I keep saying I'm going to wrap. I guess it is time to wrap it up here in the office and go home. I love doing this. I love you watching it on Saturdays and Sundays. Please leave comments, and then please go to the YouTube. We're getting quite a collection now. If you haven't seen some of the past ones, please subscribe. That always helps as well. If I can get those subscriptions up, we can add more things to the YouTube channel as well. So thanks so much. Live at 5 on a Friday. See ya.